"You mean nothing to me," the millionaire said, until his ex-wife returned, holding his son. He looked at her and said the words that shattered her world forever. "You mean nothing to me." 3 years later, she returned, not alone, but holding a child that looked exactly like him. What would you do if the love of your life disappeared and came back only to reveal the truth that could destroy you or save you? Stay tuned, because this is a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and a love tested by fire. Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm James, and welcome to another heart-stirring story. Before we dive in, let us take a moment to pray for all the hearts listening today. May your souls find peace. May broken dreams be mended, and may every tear you've shed bring strength, hope, and love into your life. Let us pray together. Dear Lord, watch over each one of us. Heal our hearts, guide our paths, and fill our lives with love and courage. Protect those who have been hurt, strengthen those who are struggling, and help us believe that even after pain, joy can return. Amen. If your heart feels this prayer, write Amen in the comments below and let the universe know you believe in hope and healing. Now, let's begin this unforgettable journey. The storm rolled over the hills like a warning, low thunder pressing against the glass walls of the Hale mansion, shaking the night with a weight Amara had felt long before the sky began to cry. Inside, light bled across polished marble and cold steel. Everything in this house was sharp, expensive, heartless, just like the man standing at the center of it. Lucas Hale didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. His words carried the bite of winter, slicing clean, leaving sting long after sound. His blue eyes, the kind strangers admired, were tonight nothing but frozen oceans with no shore. "You mean nothing to me, Amara." The words didn't just fall between them. They detonated. Amara's fingers stiffened against the folds of her simple lilac dress, the same dress she had worn on the night of their forced wedding. She had been shaking then, too, not out of fear, but out of hope, fragile, foolish hope that maybe kindness lived somewhere beneath the layers Lucas used to shield himself from the world. But 3 months had taught her that she was wrong, painfully wrong. Her breath trembled, but her spine held straight. Not tonight. Not anymore. She looked at Lucas as if seeing him for the first time. Not the CEO, not the young millionaire everyone worshipped, but a man who had forgotten how to feel, a man who traded humanity for power, a man who believed every lie whispered by the woman standing behind him. Sierra Blake, with her crimson lips and glossy blonde curls, leaned forward as though she were slipping a blade between ribs. She was beautiful. Gorgeous in a way that turned heads at every gala, every brunch, every camera flash. But tonight her beauty was sharpened with cruelty. "She's cheating on you, Lucas," Sierra murmured sweetly, her voice a silk-wrapped venom. "I heard things. She's not loyal. You deserve better." Lucas didn't flinch, didn't question. He simply inhaled, believing her. It was that easy. The stack of divorce papers hit the marble table with a sound that echoed far louder than the storm outside. A sound that marked an ending Amara was never given a chance to fight for. But fight for what? For a marriage he treated like a business deal? For a man who never gave her more than a passing glance at dinner, who spoke to her as if she were an inconvenience he couldn't wait to discard? No, not tonight. Her throat tightened, but her tears refused to fall. The world had taken enough from her. She wouldn't give it her pride. "Is this really what you want, Lucas?" she asked softly, not pleading, just seeking the last fragment of his humanity. Lucas met her gaze with eyes that held no warmth, no hesitation, nothing but icy finality. "I've wanted this from the beginning. You were never meant to stay." The words bruised something deep inside her chest, but Amara forced her heartbeat to steady. She was done begging for the place he never intended to give her. Silence settled before Sierra's smirk curled at the edge. "Don't drag this out, sweetheart," she said, stepping around Lucas as though she owned him, owned the house, owned the future Amara had never been allowed to touch. "Just sign and leave. It's already embarrassing enough you had to force him into this marriage." Lucas didn't stop her. He didn't even blink. Amara stared at the papers. Cold ink, cold signatures, cold fate. She picked up the pen with a hand that wasn't trembling anymore. She signed her name with steady strokes. Not because she agreed, not because she accepted, but because she refused to be a prisoner in a house that never offered her shelter. When she pushed the papers back across the table, her eyes flicked up, not seeking forgiveness, not seeking validation, but offering closure he didn't deserve. "You will regret this someday, Lucas," she whispered, not as a curse, but as a truth she already sensed. Thunder cracked. Lightning split the sky. The glass mansion flickered with blue light. Amara turned away. Her footsteps on marble echoed like a heartbeat, breaking and rebuilding itself in the same moment. She didn't grab jewelry or gowns or any trace of wealth. She left with only her handbag and her dignity intact, a rare luxury in this house. The front door swung open into the freezing night, rain lashing like a world trying to wash her pain away. Her hair soaked instantly, clinging to her cheeks, to her trembling jaw. But she didn't stop. She didn't look back. Not even once. She walked down the stone path, heels slipping slightly, breath shivering through clenched teeth. And then, when she reached the road, dark, wet, and empty, she placed a hand on her belly. The softest whisper escaped her lips, fragile yet filled with steel no one could see. "God, give me strength for the life growing inside me." She didn't know if heaven heard her, but the night did. The storm seemed to pause for a heartbeat, as if even nature knew the weight of what she carried. Behind her the mansion towered, filled with warmth that wasn't warmth, light that wasn't kindness, people who didn't know truth when it stood 3 feet away. Inside, Sierra was already laughing softly, stepping closer to Lucas as he signed the remaining pages without hesitation. He didn't know. Not yet. Not tonight. Lightning cracked again, illuminating Amara walking farther and farther into the rain, one hand on her heart, one hand on the future she would now protect alone. Her world had shattered, but she still walked, because strength is quiet, and survival doesn't scream. And behind her, the real betrayal was only just beginning to unravel. Inside the mansion, Sierra's smile curved like victory as Lucas signed the last page. Her phone buzzed, one hidden message lighting up the screen. "It's done. Now you get him. Just remember our deal." But who was she messaging? And why did she look terrified for a split second before she locked the phone? Sierra Blake's phone buzzed somewhere beneath layers of gold silk and jewels, but she ignored it. Tonight wasn't a night for secrets. It was a night for worship. Her worship. The mansion pulsed with music and champagne, the kind of glittering celebration only Lucas Hale's money could buy. Cameras flashed, influencers swarmed. Every eye was on Sierra, the millionaire's chosen woman, the one who replaced a wife she never considered competition. Lucas stood near the grand balcony, jaw tight, drink untouched in his hand. He wasn't celebrating. He was pretending. 3 years had carved quiet tension into his bones. The parties, the alcohol, the noise, they numbed things he refused to name. Sierra had everything she once schemed for, yet somehow nothing felt the way she promised it would. He felt like a man drifting in his own home. Guests surrounded him, praising deals he'd closed, victories he barely cared about. But he kept glancing at Sierra. She wasn't the carefree beauty she had been 3 years ago. Her laugh was forced. Her eyes darted around the room. Her smile twitched like a mask slipping under heat. "Relax," Lucas muttered to her when she finally approached. "It's your night." Sierra smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I am relaxed," she said softly, adjusting her diamond necklace. I just feel like something is off. Lucas didn't respond. He was tired of her moods lately, tired of her accusations, tired of the way she expected him to fill some void inside her he didn't understand. Maybe you're just paranoid, he murmured. Her eyes flickered, hurt or anger, he couldn't tell. The music swelled again. The lights dimmed for a dramatic reveal of Sierra's entrance. Guests turned toward the main door, expecting fireworks, dancers, or another luxurious spectacle. But instead, a hush fell. One by one, people stilled, champagne glasses suspended in midair. The doors parted, and a woman stepped inside. She wasn't dressed like the guests. She wasn't dripping in diamonds. She wasn't sculpted for the camera. She was real. A simple brown dress, hair tied low, face calm, but carrying years of storms. Her beauty didn't scream. It sighed, quiet, disarming, unforgettable. Amara. Next to her, clinging to her hip, was a boy. A little boy, 3 or maybe 4 years old. Curly dark hair, soft tan skin, eyes impossibly blue, blue like the winter sky, blue like the man who now stood frozen across the room. Lucas felt the floor slip beneath him. His breath hitched, his grip on his glass tightened until it cracked. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. But it was. The child's eyes were his, the same shape, the same piercing color, the same unmistakable Hale stare. A murmur rippled through the party. Is that? She looks like that boy. Oh my God. Sierra stiffened. Something inside her snapped like a fragile thread, her perfectly painted face drained of color. This wasn't part of her script. This wasn't supposed to happen. Amara didn't look left or right. She walked forward with steady steps, the way someone walks into a fire they've already accepted. Lucas couldn't move, couldn't speak. His world narrowed to the small hand gripping her dress and the blue eyes peering curiously from behind her arm. A child, a son, a mirror of him. His heartbeat thundered, his throat tightened. Something sharp twisted inside his chest, fear, regret, disbelief, something he didn't have a name for. Amara finally lifted her gaze to him. It wasn't angry, it wasn't pleading, it wasn't broken. It was stronger, steadier, different. Lucas opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Then, the boy looked at him, really looked at him. A long, quiet, unsettling gaze. He tightened his small fingers on Amara's dress and pressed his face into her shoulder, but his voice carried through the silent hall. "Mama," he whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Is that the man from my nightmares?" Gasps tore through the crowd. Some covered their mouths, some stared at Lucas with new eyes, judging, whispering, wondering. Lucas felt something cold crawl up his spine. Nightmares? Of him? Sierra stumbled back a step, panic rising in her throat. Amara didn't say a word. She simply held her child closer, her expression unreadable, her silence louder than any accusation. Lucas tried to speak again, but emotion clogged his voice. "Amara, what does he mean by—" She didn't answer, and that silence told him the one thing he was most afraid to face. Something happened, something he didn't know, something someone hid, and now it was standing in front of him with blue eyes and tiny trembling hands. Sierra's phone buzzed again in her trembling hand, this time with a message flashing boldly on the screen. She wasn't supposed to come back yet. Fix this before everything collapses. Silence cracked through the hall like thunder. Every guest stared, frozen mid-breath, still hearing the boy's frightened whisper echo in the air. Lucas felt the words crawl under his skin, sinking deeper than any insult, any boardroom attack, any blow his life had ever thrown at him. He stepped toward Ayan slowly, almost cautiously, as if the child might vanish if he moved too fast. "Amara, what is this? Who is he?" His normally steady voice faltered, trembling with disbelief and something dangerously close to fear. Amara did not flinch. Her spine remained straight, her expression unreadable. "Your son, Lucas," she said quietly, each syllable sharp, clean and merciless. "His name is Ayan." The air left Lucas's lungs, his knees nearly buckled. He stared at the boy, small, fragile, clinging to his mother's dress, his tiny chest rising and falling quickly, blue eyes identical to Lucas's own staring back with fear instead of arrogance. Lucas felt the room tilt. That face, those eyes, that bone structure. It was him, a miniaturized version of him, a life he never knew he created. Behind him, Sierra's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered against the marble. She didn't even react. She stood rigid, pale, her lips parted in shock. Her gaze darted from Ayen to Amara and back to Lucas, like a cornered animal. Lucas's mind spun backward, replaying memories he had spent years burying. Amara sitting at the breakfast table 3 years ago, her hands shaking as she held her tea. The night she fainted briefly in the hallway and brushed it off as exhaustion. The way she touched her stomach absently when she thought he wasn't looking. Her quiet, persistent tremors in those last days. Illness? Or something he never allowed himself to ask? Ayan shifted, stepping behind Amara's legs, gripping her dress tightly. His tiny fingers curled, seeking protection from the man he instinctively feared. "He looks scared of you," Sierra muttered under her breath, bitterness coating every word. Lucas turned sharply, the first controlled crack of anger slicing through him. "Don't talk," he snapped, voice low, colder than ice. Sierra swallowed hard and shrank back, fear flickering briefly across her face. Lucas reached out slightly, as if trying to form a bridge between him and the child he never got to hold. "Ayan," he whispered, his throat tight. "I didn't know." Amara's lips lifted into a humorless, exhausted half-smile. "Of course you didn't. You were too busy believing lies." Every word punched through him. She adjusted Ayan gently on her hip. The boy rested his cheek against her shoulder, still peeking at Lucas with those frightened blue eyes. "I didn't come here for you," Amara continued, her voice soft but unwavering. "I came because the truth deserved to be seen. Ayan deserved not to live in shadows." Lucas stepped forward, desperate. "Amara, wait." Ayan tensed instantly, and Amara shifted him protectively, her chin lifting with quiet defiance. "Don't," she warned. "You owe him nothing, and he owes you even less." Her words sliced deeper than any insult he had ever endured. Lucas stopped, frozen, watching the woman he once crushed walk away with silent grace, carrying a child who mirrored his face like a haunting reflection of everything he threw away. The guests whispered behind their hands. Some stared with pity, others with judgment, a few with shock that bordered on fascination. Lucas didn't hear any of them. His heartbeat roared too loudly. He wasn't thinking about the company, the millions, the power, the parties, or the image he curated so carefully. All he saw was a boy who should have known his father, and a woman who survived without him. Amara turned slightly, giving him one last glance. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't love. It was the look of someone who had finally let go of the weight that never belonged on her shoulders. "We'll survive without you," she said simply. Lucas's throat closed. He tried to speak. Anything, something, a plea, an apology, a denial. But nothing came out. Before he could gather words, a uniformed security guard approached Sierra, leaning in to whisper in her ear. His voice was low, urgent, but Lucas, tuned to every shift tonight, caught the edge of it. "Ms. Blake," the guard murmured, "we found something in your car. The thing you told us to hide before." Lucas's eyes snapped toward them, suspicion crackling to life. "Hide what?" Sierra stiffened instantly, her face turning whiter than before. Her lip trembled, a crack, a rare one. She shook her head quickly at the guard, like she could smother the truth by simple denial. But Lucas had already heard enough. A dark realization slithered through his mind. There were lies here. More lies than he imagined. Lies that started 3 years ago, and maybe never stopped. He turned toward Sierra slowly, his stare razor-sharp, ice-blue, deadly calm. "What did you hide?" he asked. Sierra's breath hitched, and for the first time in years, Lucas Hale wasn't afraid of losing anything. He was afraid of what he might finally uncover. Sierra's phone buzzed violently in her trembling hand. Lucas grabbed it before she could react, and the screen lit up with a message notification. Just one line. "You promised to destroy the wife. Don't back out now." Lucas stared at his phone, heart hammering in a rhythm he hadn't felt in years. The message glowed on the screen, mocking him. "Don't try to find us." His mind raced, images of Amara and Ayan flashing through it, her proud, defiant eyes, his son's tiny hands gripping hers. Rage and panic collided, a storm he couldn't control. Every fiber of his being screamed for answers. Sierra stood frozen, her usual composure shattered. The illusion of power she had maintained for years cracked at the edges. Lucas's blue eyes, sharp and merciless, bore into her. "You did this," he said, his voice low, trembling with fury. "All of it. You set her up, ruined her life, and now you've made her disappear." Sierra swallowed, but her words faltered. "Lucas, I didn't. I only. Lucas cut her off, the icy calm of the past gone. "Only lied. Only destroyed my family. Only turned my life into a lie." His fists clenched. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't let go of the truth. The mansion suddenly felt smaller, suffocating him with all its gold and glass. He stormed out, ignoring the crowd of his party guests who stared, mouths agape. They whispered behind him, but he didn't care. The icy night embraced him, sharp wind stinging his cheeks. Lucas drove through the streets of Manhattan with a focus he hadn't known existed since he was a boy climbing the corporate ladder. His heart was not on profits now. It was on finding them. Finding Amara. Finding Ayan. Hours turned into a blur of calls, surveillance checks, and frantic searches. He hired private investigators, pressed cameras, and even asked contacts in the media for leads. Nothing. No trace. No whispers. His anger grew, twisting into desperation. Each passing minute without them felt like a lifetime of punishment he had never imagined. Meanwhile, Amara and Ayan were far from the mansion, in a small, nondescript apartment on the outskirts of the city. Amara had anticipated this. She had prepared, planned every move carefully. For 3 years, she had endured life alone, building a quiet strength, shielding her son from a father who would have only added pain. Her heart ached, yes, but it also beat with determination. Ayan played quietly on the floor, building a small castle of blocks, oblivious to the storm outside. She whispered to him, "Stay calm, my love. They can't find us yet. Not until I'm ready." She looked out the rain-streaked window, mind replaying the moment Lucas had seen them at Sierra's party. His shock, his regret, the flicker of something, remorse, confusion, in his cold blue eyes. She allowed herself no illusions. She had to be careful. One wrong step and all would crumble. Back in Manhattan, Lucas refused sleep. Each passing hour gnawed at him, reminding him of the years he had wasted believing lies, letting pride and fury dictate his life. The city lights blurred past his car windows as if mocking his helplessness. Every alleyway, every street corner, every familiar park became a potential hiding spot in his frantic mind. The mansion, once a sanctuary of power and control, felt like a tomb now. He remembered the folder, the manipulated images of Amara. He remembered every cruel word he had said, every time he had ignored her, every time he had believed Sierra. He felt the weight of every moment pressing on his chest, suffocating him. He had not just lost her once, he had lost himself in the process. Then a spark, a clue. One of his investigators called with a partial license plate, a small lead, but enough. Lucas's pulse surged. The chase had begun. For the first time in 3 years, the ice in his veins began to melt, replaced by raw, desperate emotion. He imagined confronting her, explaining, begging if necessary. He imagined seeing Ayan's eyes, those familiar icy blue eyes that mirrored his own. A smile, a touch, a moment of forgiveness, something to fix the years of ruin he had caused. But doubt still clawed at him. What if she didn't want him? What if she had moved on? What if the son he had never known didn't want a father who had abandoned him? Lucas pressed forward anyway, unwilling to accept failure. He was ruthless in business, and now that same ruthlessness fueled a new quest. Redemption, truth, and reclaiming what he had thought was lost forever. He vowed that nothing, no lies, no fear, no distance, would stop him. Amara, meanwhile, sensed him closing in. She had always anticipated this moment, and yet the thought of facing him again, of revealing the truth of their son, tightened her chest. She looked down at Ayan, brushing a curl from his forehead. "He will have to see the truth," she whispered, "but only when the time is right." Somewhere in the night, Lucas parked his car near the edge of the district. He took a deep breath, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles whitened. He was closer now, closer than he had ever been to redemption, to truth, to the family he had destroyed. But the city, full of shadows and secrets, held one final card that neither Lucas nor Amara had anticipated. One wrong step, one miscalculated move, and everything could shatter again. As Lucas finally opened his phone to track the partial lead, a video message popped up. It showed a small hand waving, Ayan's face peeking around the corner, and a voice whispered, chillingly clear, "Papa, don't come closer, or we'll disappear forever." Lucas didn't pause. Not for a second. Every tick of the clock reminded him of the 3 years he had lost. Years he could never reclaim. Years he had squandered, believing lies. The city sprawled endlessly before him, lights like stars mocking his desperation. Yet he refused to stop. Every avenue, every alley, every familiar street became a potential clue. He drove with a single-minded purpose, heart hammering, mind razor-sharp. He called her family first, careful not to let them sense his panic. "Amara Khan," he asked, "do you know where she lives?" Their answers were vague. No one knew for certain, though whispers of a humble apartment in the outskirts trickled through. He didn't wait. He moved to co-workers, old friends, anyone who might have crossed paths with her. Everywhere he went, he discovered the same truth. She had built a life on her own terms, independent, resilient, unbroken. Security cameras, social media accounts, digital trails. It all became a web he meticulously untangled. Somewhere, somehow, she had remained beyond his reach, but only barely. He learned she worked 2 jobs, studied online at night, and raised a young boy, her son, with unwavering dedication. His heart tightened. "That's my boy," he whispered, voice shaking, remembering how he had never even held him, never even known his name. He paused to watch surveillance footage obtained from one of her workplaces. There, in the corner of a small playground, Ayan laughed, chasing a bright yellow ball across the sunlit grass. His curls bounced with each movement, his little blue eyes sparkling under the sunlight. Lucas's throat constricted, and for the first time in years, tears welled up, blurring his vision. This child, so full of life, so vibrant and innocent, was his blood, and he had been absent. Every mistake he had made, every harsh word, every cruel gesture, every moment came crashing down on him at once. The trail led him finally to a modest, rented house on the city's outskirts. No grand facade, no glimmering lights, no reminders of wealth. Just a small home, sturdy, practical, filled with life in ways he had never known. Lucas parked his car several blocks away, heart hammering with anticipation and fear. He studied the home from a distance, noting the small curtains fluttering in the evening breeze, a bicycle tipped over in the yard, and the faint sound of a child's laughter echoing faintly inside. He took a deep breath, his chest tight, his mind a hurricane of guilt and hope. He had expected a confrontation, perhaps anger or dismissal, but nothing could have prepared him for the sight that awaited. Amara opened the door. Her eyes were tired, framed with faint lines that had formed in the past years, yet her posture was unwavering, her gaze sharp and deliberate. Lucas felt a pang of regret stronger than anything he had felt in his corporate battles, stronger than the pressure of billion-dollar deals. Here was the woman he had once forced into a loveless marriage, who had suffered silently, who had survived without him. And yet she stood there, commanding the room without a word. A yawn peeked from behind her legs, clutching a small, worn toy dinosaur. His wide eyes mirrored Lucas's own, the same icy blue, the same intensity that had once unnerved others in the boardroom. The boy froze, hesitant, caught between curiosity and fear, as if he knew instinctively that this man had been absent from his life, that he did not yet belong. Lucas fell to his knees instinctively, lowering himself to their level. The world narrowed to the two of them, the years of regret pressing down with unbearable weight. "Amara, I was wrong," he began, voice breaking. "About everything. The divorce, my words, my pride. Please, please let me fix what I destroyed. Let me be there for Ayan. Let me, let me make it right." His hands shook as he extended them toward her, the vulnerability he had never allowed himself in public, now spilling out completely. Amara's expression remained unreadable. She studied him carefully, every movement, every word, weighing the sincerity in his voice. For a fleeting moment, Lucas thought he saw the faintest flicker of softness in her eyes, a crack in the armor she had built. But it vanished almost instantly, replaced by the steel of a woman who had endured enough, who had raised a child in the absence of the man who should have been a father. Then she spoke, voice soft but resolute. "It's too late." The words hit him like a fist. His chest tightened, breath caught in his throat. He tried to speak again, to beg, to explain. But she didn't flinch, didn't step aside. Her gaze was fixed, unwavering. He realized that he had not just lost her trust once. He had lost it repeatedly over years of lies, arrogance, and ignorance. Before he could process further, a shadow shifted behind Amara. A man stepped out from the living room, tall, confident, exuding an air of protective authority that Lucas had never seen in her life. His eyes, dark and unwavering, scanned Lucas with a calm precision that sent a shiver down his spine. Lucas instinctively stiffened, realizing this was no ordinary man. This was someone who had become part of her world, someone who had earned the right to stand between her and him. The man's presence alone carried a warning. Lucas understood immediately. His path to redemption, to forgiveness, would not be simple. Amara had moved on, built a life of strength and protection, and now this man was part of that structure. Every instinct Lucas had told him to tread carefully. Any misstep could undo what little chance he had left. His mind raced, piecing together possibilities. Who was this man? A friend, a protector, a mentor, or something more? His blue eyes, sharp and piercing even from a kneeling position, never left Lucas. Lucas swallowed hard, realizing he had been thrust into an entirely new equation, one that he had no control over, one that tested not only his desire for forgiveness, but his ability to confront the consequences of his past. Lucas forced himself to rise slowly, dignity and humility battling within him. He spoke carefully, measured every word. "I know I don't deserve your trust, or his, but I am here. I am ready to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to prove that I can be the man he, and you, deserve. Amara's lips pressed together. Her eyes softened for a heartbeat, a fleeting acknowledgement of his sincerity. But she did not move, did not extend a hand. The boy clutched his toy dinosaur closer, peeking from behind her legs as if sensing the tension, the storm of emotions raging between the adults. Then the man from the living room stepped forward, voice calm, but the edge of steel in his tone impossible to ignore. You've come back too late, Lucas Hale, and now you may never get her, or him, back. Lucas froze, his heart thundered. The weight of the past, the mistakes he had made, the lies he had believed, all collided in that single chilling moment. He had chased her across the city, endured sleepless nights, fought his own ego. And now, standing at the threshold of redemption, he faced a challenge far greater than he had imagined. The boy's small hand reached for Amara's, seeking comfort. Lucas's eyes softened, but the warning from the man resonated. This would not be easy. Every step forward required patience, humility, and a willingness to accept that forgiveness, if granted, would come on their terms, not his. He inhaled deeply, centering himself. This was no longer about power, about control, about money or pride. This was about love, real love, the love he had neglected for too long. And he would fight, not with rage or force, but with sincerity, humility, and devotion. The man crossed his arms, stepping slightly closer, voice calm but unmistakably firm. Lucas Hale, if you want any chance with them, you'll have to prove you're worthy. And the first test begins now. Lucas's chest heaved as he processed the man standing calmly before him. He had expected a protector, a rival, maybe someone with hidden intentions. But this presence was different, gentle, measured, confident without arrogance. His eyes met Lucas's, assessing without accusation, weighing without judgment. I'm Dr. Nate Coleman, the man said, voice warm, steady. I'm Ian's pediatrician. Relief surged through Lucas, a wave so strong he felt it almost physically. His knees threatened to give way beneath him, but the weight of 3 years of mistakes anchored him to the spot. He could breathe again. He could see a path forward. Yet, despite Nate's kindness, Amara's eyes remained icy, fixed on him with a vigilance Lucas had seen in her before, one that did not forgive easily. I don't need you to play father now, Amara said flatly, her voice carrying the authority she had honed in his absence. I raised him alone. We've been fine without you. Lucas's throat constricted. The words hit harder than any insult she had ever thrown at him. She had survived. She had flourished. She had built a life. Without him, he had no right to demand space in it. Yet his heart burned, desperate and raw. I want to earn that place, Lucas said, voice trembling but determined. Just give me a chance. Please, I'll do anything. I'll prove it to you, to him. Amara's lips pressed together. She shook her head slightly. Lucas could see the conflict in her eyes, the desire to protect her heart, her son, the life she had built without him. And yet, the faintest flicker of hesitation betrayed her. Dr. Nate Coleman stepped closer, his expression softening as he looked at Amara. He's trying, Amara, Nate said gently. Don't punish your heart forever. Don't let pride, anger, or fear decide this for you. If he's willing to fight, you need to let him try. Lucas blinked. Shock coursed through him. Nate was defending him? Why? After everything he had done, after the years of pain, why was this man urging Amara to give him a chance? We all saw how you raised Ayan alone, Nate continued, turning slightly toward Lucas but addressing Amara. You've done everything perfectly, but you deserve help. You deserve peace. You deserve a chance to breathe without carrying all the weight. Amara's eyes softened for a fraction of a second. Ayan shuffled closer, small hands brushing against her leg. Lucas watched, breath caught in his chest. He had been so sure she would never give him even a glance. And yet, here was a crack, a hint of possibility, a space to rebuild. "I don't trust Lucas." "Not anymore," Amara whispered, almost to herself. She looked away, refusing to meet his gaze. Lucas's stomach twisted. He knew she was right. He had failed her. He had failed them both. But he couldn't stop now. He couldn't allow the past to dictate the future. Ayan stepped forward quietly, tilting his head up toward Lucas with cautious curiosity. His small fingers reached out, brushing against Lucas's cheek. The touch was hesitant, tentative, but it was an opening. The boy's blue eyes searched Lucas's, mirroring the uncertainty, the longing, the need to connect with the man who had been absent. "Are you my daddy?" Ayan's voice trembled, small and unsure. Lucas felt everything break inside him. The dam of regret, longing, and love shattered in a single instant. Tears blurred his vision. He dropped to one knee, lowering himself to Ayan's level, feeling the full weight of the years lost, the moments missed, the life unshared. "Yes," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "Yes, I'm your daddy, and I love you more than you can imagine." Ayan blinked, uncertainty lingering, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned in slightly, a tentative trust beginning to form. Lucas's chest ached with the intensity of the moment, the first connection after 3 years of absence, the fragile start of something he could never take for granted. Amara's hands twitched at her sides, caught between protecting her son and acknowledging the truth she had seen in Lucas's eyes. Nate watched quietly, offering silent support, letting the tension flow naturally without interference. Suddenly, the calm, fragile bubble of reunion shattered. The distant wail of police sirens echoed through the quiet neighborhood, growing louder, closer. Lucas's pulse jumped. His blue eyes darted toward the window. "What now?" he whispered, tense. "What is happening?" The sirens were accompanied by flashing lights reflecting across the walls of the modest home. Officers poured out of vehicles, moving with precision, urgency, and purpose. They weren't here for routine patrols or traffic violations. Something had escalated beyond control. Amara instinctively pulled Ayan behind her, shielding him as her jaw tightened. Her eyes flicked to Lucas, and in that single glance, Lucas saw determination, protectiveness, and a warning. This moment of fragile connection could be disrupted in an instant. "Stay inside," Amara said firmly, her voice trembling slightly but carrying authority. Nate nodded, ready to act if needed. Lucas, heart hammering, looked at the house, the street, the flashing lights outside, and realized the stakes had just shifted. This was no longer about trust or forgiveness alone. Danger lurked nearby, and it was tied, he instinctively knew, to Sierra Blake. Lucas's fists clenched. The fire of protection surged within him. For the first time since he had lost everything, he felt a surge of purpose beyond regret or apology. He would fight. For Amara, for Ayan, for the chance to truly earn their trust. But before he could act, the police formed a perimeter, surrounding the mansion across town. Lucas's mind raced, piecing together what this could mean. What had Sierra done this time? What chaos had she stirred? And how much of it would threaten the fragile peace he was just beginning to rebuild? He looked back at Amara and Ayan, their figures small but unyielding in the doorway. He felt the weight of the moment, the impossible challenge ahead: protect them, rebuild trust, and confront the darkness that had shadowed their lives for years. Through the window, Lucas glimpsed a familiar silhouette, Sierra herself, being led by officers, her expression smug, defiant, almost taunting. But in her hand, a small, mysterious envelope. She locked eyes with Lucas, and her lips curved into a chilling smile. "This isn't over, Hale. Not by a long shot." The flashing red and blue lights outside Sierra Blake's mansion illuminated the night like an eerie carnival of justice. Lucas felt his chest tighten as he watched officers swarm the estate, moving with precision, their footsteps echoing like judgment on the marble floors she once ruled. The air was electric, charged with revelation, with the collapse of a carefully constructed empire of lies. Through the large windows, Lucas saw her, Sierra, screaming, flailing, tears streaking her pale cheeks. Her designer dress was disheveled, her perfectly styled hair falling into her eyes, betraying the chaos she had spent years hiding behind a mask of control. She tried to resist, pulling at the officer's grips, but they held firm. She screamed accusations, half coherent, blaming the world, everyone except herself, refusing to accept that the walls of deception she had built were crumbling. Lucas's blue eyes narrowed, disbelief and vindication warring in his chest. He had believed her for 3 years, had allowed his judgment to be clouded by her manipulations, had turned his back on Amara and his son. And now, the truth had come out violently, without compromise. How did this investigation even start? Lucas asked, voice tense, incredulous, as he approached the officers securing the mansion. One officer, tall and methodical, turned toward him. "An anonymous woman sent us proof," she said, handing over a folder thick with evidence. "Bank statements, emails, digital forgeries, everything pointing to blackmail, extortion, and fraud." Lucas froze. The word anonymous echoed in his mind. There was only one person who could have known the intricate web of deceit, who had worked alongside Sierra for years, quietly observing, quietly enduring, quietly gathering the truth. A movement near the doorway caught his attention. Eyes narrowed, heart pounding, Lucas saw her step forward. Emily Parker, Sierra's personal assistant. Her presence was commanding, fierce and unyielding. Her dark hair framed a face that radiated determination, the kind that comes from years of watching injustice go unpunished. "She ruined your marriage," Emily said, her voice steady, almost cold. "She destroyed Amara's life. I'm done covering for her, done lying, done hiding the truth." Lucas took a cautious step forward, mind racing. Emily reached into her bag and pulled out a small flash drive, holding it out like a lifeline. "Everything is inside," she said, eyes never leaving his. "The proof you needed, 3 years ago. All of it. Every lie, every scheme, every manipulated moment. You should have known the truth back then." Lucas's hand shook as he took the flash drive, his pulse racing. 3 years. 3 years wasted believing the wrong woman, hating the wrong woman, and ignoring the woman who had endured everything with grace, strength, and dignity. His mind flashed to Amara, her quiet courage, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices she had made alone. He could almost feel the weight of her struggle, the invisible armor she had built around her and Ayan. Meanwhile, officers continued to secure the mansion. Lucas watched Sierra's hysterical cries, her face twisted in disbelief, her mouth opening and closing like a caged animal. The scandal was unfolding in real time. Lucas's mind processed the details Emily had explained: the affair with a married politician, the hidden accounts funding her extravagant lifestyle, the false evidence she had planted to frame Amara, and the digital manipulations that had convinced him she was innocent while turning him against his own wife. Lucas felt his hands tremble. Rage, shame, relief, vindication. Every emotion collided in an uncontrollable storm. He had been a puppet in her game, but now she was the one trapped. Emily leaned closer, voice low and urgent. "There's more. On the flash drive, there's a video. One she recorded the night of your divorce. She bragged exactly what she said, exactly how she manipulated you, how easy you were to control." Lucas's stomach dropped. He felt bile rise, and yet his curiosity. His need for truth was overwhelming. He inserted the flash drive into his laptop, his fingers shaking as he navigated to the file Emily had indicated. The video loaded. Sierra's face appeared on screen, perfectly lit, smiling as though addressing an audience. She laughed softly, the sound cold, rehearsed. "Lucas is so predictable," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "He trusts too easily, believes what he wants to believe, hates what he wants to hate. It's almost beautiful how simple it is to control him. And Amara, that woman will never know the truth until it's too late. He'll destroy himself first. He always does." Lucas felt his chest constrict, anger and horror warring in his veins. How could he have been so blind? How could he have allowed this woman to poison his judgment, to manipulate him into abandoning the one person who had loved him without condition? The image of Amara's tear-streaked face flashed before his eyes, the night of the divorce, her trembling hands, the hidden pregnancy he had never known about. Emily placed a hand on his shoulder, firm but gentle. "Now you know. The truth. Every lie, every manipulation. You have the chance to make it right. Not with anger, not with vengeance, but with honesty and commitment. She deserves that. Ayan deserves that." Lucas swallowed hard, every memory, every regret. Every moment of humiliation and misjudgment surged through him, leaving him breathless. He realized that the road to redemption would not be easy. Amara's trust, once shattered, would not be rebuilt overnight. Ayan's bond, so delicate, would require patience, devotion, and genuine love. Outside, police had taken Sierra into custody. Cameras flashed, journalists whispered, and the night air was thick with the smell of justice being served. Lucas barely noticed. His focus was entirely on the flash drive, on Emily's words, on the possibility that the truth could finally bridge the chasm between him and the woman and child he loved more than life itself. He replayed the video, watching Sierra gloat, the mockery, the cold calculation. Every word, every smirk, every pause was a dagger, a reminder of what he had lost. But it was also a key, proof that Amara had always been innocent, that she had never betrayed him, and that the years of pain had been manufactured by a woman motivated only by greed, jealousy, and her own desires. Lucas felt his resolve harden. He would not waste another moment. He would confront Amara, not with demands, not with excuses, but with truth, accountability, and unwavering commitment. He would earn back her trust. He would be a father to Ayan. He would be the man he had failed to be. Emily's voice cut through his thoughts. "There's something else on the drive," she said. Her tone was serious now, edged with caution. "Something she recorded that you need to see. It's personal, about the night of your divorce, about exactly how she manipulated you and everything she planned. Watch it, but be ready." Lucas's hands shook as he clicked the file. His pulse raced, adrenaline surging. He knew instinctively that this video would be the final piece of the puzzle, the confirmation of Amara's innocence and the revelation of Sierra's true cruelty. He braced himself. The screen flickered to life, and Sierra appeared, smiling with a calculated arrogance. "Lucas," she said, voice soft but venomous, "you think you knew everything that night. You think you made decisions on truth. You didn't. You were my puppet. Every word, every action, every choice. You did exactly what I wanted. And the best part, you never even knew it." Lucas gritted his teeth, fury and horror colliding. He realized that the woman who had once seemed untouchable, untamed, and unstoppable was now powerless before the law and the truth. But the damage she had caused would take years to repair. Emily stepped back, letting him absorb it all. "This is your chance," she said. "Use it wisely, make it right, before it's too late." Lucas closed his eyes, swallowing the lump in his throat. He had the proof, the truth, the vindication. But the real challenge had only just begun, bringing Amara and Ayan back into his life, earning the trust he had lost, and healing the wounds he had caused. As Lucas sat in stunned silence, the last file on the flash drive loaded. A short video, time-stamped the night of the divorce. Sierra's face filled the screen, her lips curled in a sinister smile as she whispered, barely audible, "Let's see how he handles this. He'll never forgive himself." Lucas's hands trembled as the implications sank in. What exactly had she recorded? And would this final revelation destroy the fragile hope he now clung to? Lucas Hale drove slowly toward Amara's house, the weight of everything pressing on him like a physical burden. The flash drive burned in his pocket, proof of the lies, manipulation, and cruelty Sierra had inflicted. He had the truth now, but truth alone would not undo the years lost, the pain inflicted, or the mistrust he had nurtured in the eyes of the woman he had once loved. He rehearsed what he would say, though words felt insufficient. "Amara, I was wrong. I see it now. I know the cost. I will spend every day making it right." He pressed his hands to the steering wheel, fingers trembling. The city blurred past, but in his heart, clarity was sharpening, replacing the arrogance that had once blinded him. He arrived and paused outside the modest house she had built, its simplicity a stark contrast to the glass towers and luxury he had once clung to. Ayan's laughter floated through an open window, pure and untouched by the years of manipulation and betrayal that had surrounded them. Lucas swallowed hard. This was the life he had missed. This was what he had almost lost forever. He knocked, heart hammering. When the door opened, Amara stood there, calm, poised, but guarded. The faint traces of past pain lingered in her eyes, but so did a glimmer of curiosity. Lucas met her gaze, searching for any sign that she might let him back into their lives. "Amara," he began, voice low, steady, raw. "Everything is exposed. Sierra is done. I swear I will spend my life making things right. Every mistake, every harsh word, every moment I ignored your worth, I will fix it. I will not waste another second. Please, let me try." Amara's eyes softened, studying him with a sharp intensity that pierced through every layer of pretense. For the first time in years, she saw no arrogance, no cold calculation, only regret, love, and a desperate fear of losing her and Ayan forever. She inhaled slowly, steadying herself against the flood of emotion his words stirred. "Lucas," she whispered, her voice both gentle and firm, "I don't need your money. I don't need your mansion. I don't need any of that. What I need, what Ayan needs, is a father who is present, who respects him, and a partner who values me as an equal. I've spent too long proving my worth alone. I won't allow that again." Lucas's throat tightened. Her words were a mirror reflecting his failings, and yet they were not rejection. They were an invitation, if he could meet her terms. He nodded solemnly, conviction burning in his chest. "You will have both, every day, every moment. I promise you, Amara, I will be the man you and Ayan deserve." Ayan stepped forward shyly, tugging gently on both of their hands. "Can we be family now, please?" His small voice, hesitant but hopeful, shook Lucas to his core. The boy's trust was fragile, but it existed. It could be nurtured, and it would be. Amara's lips trembled, and tears pooled in her eyes, reflecting a depth of love and caution he had never seen before. Slowly she placed her hand in Lucas's, her grip firm, deliberate. It was a gesture of trust, not surrender. "But this time," she said, her voice resolute, "I led my life. I make my choices. And you stand beside me, not above me." Lucas smiled, feeling a warmth he had long denied himself. He shook slightly, both from relief and overwhelming emotion. "I wouldn't want it any other way," he whispered. The words were simple, but they carried a weight of understanding, respect, and devotion he had never spoken before. They stepped together into the house, and Lucas knelt to hug Ayan, pulling him close. Ayan laughed softly, squeezing him back. Amara followed, the three of them holding one another, forming the family they had always been meant to be, not through convenience or obligation, but through resilience, trust, and the willingness to forgive while demanding respect. The days that followed were filled with small, tender moments. Lucas learned to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. He listened more than he spoke, guided more than he commanded, and allowed Amara to set the pace. Slowly, they rebuilt routines, bedtime stories, shared meals, and quiet conversations that stitched their lives together again. Amara's empowerment was palpable. She managed their household, guided their son's upbringing, and reclaimed control over her life without hesitation. Lucas followed, not as a ruler, but as a partner, learning, adapting, and proving every day that he could be the man Ayin needed and the equal Amara deserved. Sierra's downfall became a distant storm, her threats and manipulations neutralized by truth and justice. Lucas realized the greatest triumph was not revenge. It was the restoration of trust, the protection of Amara and Ayan, and the creation of a life built on respect, love, and equality. At the end of the long day, the three of them sat together on the small couch. Ayan nestled between them, holding a drawing he had made. A family of three, smiling, happy, and whole. Lucas looked at Amara, and she at him. No words were needed. Their shared glance spoke volumes. They had survived betrayal, pain, and separation. They had chosen love over pride, truth over deception, and family over ego. Lucas finally whispered, "We're going to be okay, I promise. No more lies, no more mistakes. Only us." Amara squeezed his hand gently, a smile breaking through tears. "Yes, only us. And this time, we do it together." Ayan's laughter echoed in the room, a sound brighter than any success Lucas had ever achieved in business, a sound more valuable than any wealth he had accumulated. The house, small and modest, felt like the most luxurious palace because it was filled with love, forgiveness, and a new beginning. The story did not end with revenge. It did not end with pride or destruction. It ended with redemption, healing, and empowerment. Amara had reclaimed her life. Lucas had reclaimed his heart. And Ayan had reclaimed the father he had long deserved. As night fell, they sat on the porch together, watching the stars appear. Lucas felt the weight of the past lift slightly, replaced with cautious hope. Amara leaned her head on his shoulder, and he held her gently, knowing that trust, once broken, was fragile but not irreparable. They had chosen each other, not out of necessity, not out of fear, but out of understanding, love, and the courage to forgive. They were finally, as Lucas closed his eyes. A gentle breeze rustled a note tucked under the front doormat. He picked it up, heart skipping. Written in elegant handwriting were three simple words: "New challenges await."